All right. Good evening, everyone. This is our final Wednesday webinar for summer 2023. My name is Sarah Dodge, and I am one of the assistant directors for orientation and new student programs. We have actually spent our whole day today welcoming session K orientation, which is our final one of the summer. Lots of our students traveling from a great distance. Students who are international students and students who weren't able to make it in July have already moved into your dorms. We know that many of you are moving in tomorrow or Friday. We're so excited to meet you and your families and get you settled in dorms. And so we thought to ourselves, what better way to get you ready for Wahoo Welcome than to introduce you to the team that in large part helps us to prepare for Wahoo Welcome and will help you to find opportunities to get connected to different communities, student organizations, which we call CIOs, and opportunities to grow and develop outside of the classroom during your time at UVA. So just as my final reminder, I've said this to you all summer, make sure you're checking and reading your UVA email, make sure all of those tasks on your UVA to-do lists on SIS and on your new student portal are done before you move in. And we are so excited to welcome you to the university over the course of the next couple of days. And we can't wait to meet you in real life on grounds during Wahoo Welcome. So without further ado, I'm going to shut my camera off and turn it over to our student engagement team. And again, we will see you very soon. Student engagement, you guys can take it away.
Sounds good. Wonderful. Thank you, Stodge. Much appreciated. So yeah, we are the student engagement team. My name is Tyree Mathis. I'm program coordinator for student engagement.
Hi, everybody. I am Dave Marquis. I'm the director for student engagement.
And I am Tanisha Austin. I'm this year's Student Affairs Fellow, specifically for student engagement. Our colleagues John and Brittany could not make it this evening, but they'll be in and around as well.
Beautiful faces.
Beautiful faces. And I think this is also a beautiful presentation. So, there's that. But thank you. Much appreciated. So yes, our office is student engagement. So I'm sure that can seem pretty vague, but here you get a better snapshot about what it is that we actually do. So our office has a few key components, our services, if you will, advising student organizations, CIO support, which is contracted independent organization, another fancy way of just saying student organization or club, leadership development, and programming. So those are some of the core things that we do within our office. And we'll talk a little bit more in depth about each of those things as we continue the presentation. So a little bit more about us. One of those things, like I mentioned, is the organizations that we advise. So got all of these wonderful groups here: Blueprint Leadership Program, Women's Leadership Development Program, University Board of Elections, the University Programs Council, and Student Council. Many of these you'll hear broken down into various acronyms: UPC, WLDP, UBE, and it can seem a little overwhelming and maybe annoying at some points for some folks, but nonetheless, just expect that you will hear some of those things. But though you hear those acronyms or those names, those are organizations that we directly advise. So a little bit more about those leadership programs specifically. Blueprint Leadership Program is an organization that pretty much aims to provide like a foundational level of understanding and skill sets for students to develop leadership skills and qualities. This leadership program primarily takes place in the spring semester, with recruitment happening in the fall, and gives students an opportunity to work together in groups to tackle group projects with components and ideas such as like mental health, political participation, student safety, and many, many more. It changes year to year. So the opportunity to create your own problem that you also respond to and answer is a unique opportunity within this leadership program. Applications usually open up around September, October, and we accept about 50 to 70 applicants per year. Next, we have Women's Leadership Development Program. Sorry if you see me wave, I just got attacked by Nat. Women's Leadership Development Program also takes place in the spring semester, covering a wide range of topics such as diversity and leadership, mental health, women's empowerment, professional resilience, etc. And WLDP is advised by our colleague who's not here today, Brittany Terry, but they always have a wonderful group of women who lead that group, making sure that people, get the quality skill sets they need to be able to feel empowered and take on the world as leaders in this capacity. And those applications also open up in the fall semester.
Hey, before we jump to the next one, I just want to note that the question answer chat, Q&A chat is open. So if you folks have anything that you want to throw into that Q&A section of the Zoom, please feel free to do so. And we will make sure to try to answer those questions.
Thank you, Dave. Much appreciated. Yes, feel free to use the chat. We'll answer the questions to the best of our ability. Feel confident that we can do that. So next we got the University Board of Elections. Dave, you want to give this one a
Yeah, I'll give a stab at this. I'm stepping in to help advise UBE this semester, since their advisor just took a new gig at the university. But UBE, relatively straightforward. They basically run all the elections for the university, student organizations, for the big student organizations on grounds, particularly for student council, for the Residence Hall Association, and kind of a few other things, alumni seats and things like that. So UB does, which is the University Board of Elections. Sorry, acronym on this one is real. Very rarely does it get the full name treatment. But UBE definitely is a kind of a dedicated group of students that runs those elections. Obviously, if you're interested in participating in helping run the elections, they're basically like the election supervisors. They get the word out. They make sure that the elections are fair, equitable, and ultimately accessible for campus, or I'm sorry, for grounds, and for all of the students across the different platforms and different organizations. So it's a pretty cool group. They just expanded the group to add additional elector supervisors. So that's a pretty new change. So they do have some availability, and they're also looking to get more volunteers on top of the supervisors this year. So a lot of opportunities in UBE in the coming year. The first election will be coming up relatively soon for first years. So if you're either interested in helping out with UBE or running for something, the first election will be taking place actually coming up in September for First Hall dorms. And so you'll start seeing information coming out about that from UBE and from the Residence Hall Association folks. This is just a little bit of note about kind of what's happening in UBE, really straightforward, but 30% of the student population voted in the last general election. So it's a pretty big percentage of students are participating. Keep in mind, 27,000 or so students are here on ground. So 30% of that is a huge number of participants participating. So that's pretty amazing. 88% voted to approve the honor referendum, which changed the process for how honor makes decisions. And I know we're all still kind of new to UVA, but honor is basically our disciplinary process for students. And so it's a huge change to how that process works. And it's a student-run process, if you haven't heard too much about honor yet. And it's basically informed by their code that has to be approved by students. And so those type of referendum or referendi, I can't really remember the plural of that, but that is all approved through UBE. And then, like I said, they voted also, or the students voted also to amend UBE's constitution to increase their number of elector supervisors, which needed to get approved by the student population as well. So that's the 84% there at the bottom of that. I don't know what the next slide is. I think it also is kind of similar. Nope, cool, that's it. That's the whole rundown. That's everything you need to know about UBE.
That's all the information, and trust and believe there will definitely be more information, because like you said, David, as those elections start to come about and students move into their residence halls, they'll start soliciting for people to run for those elections, to take part in the facilitation of the election. So you'll definitely be hearing a whole lot more about that as time goes on. And the spring semester does have the larger of the elections that happen. So yeah, that'll definitely be, it's always a very interesting thing. Student Council is a huge organization, which Dave will talk about in a second, that runs those elections or participates in those elections in the spring semester as well. But in the meantime, University Programs Council, which you'll never see by that name again, it'll always be UPC. That's what you hear. And what University Programs Council is, their programming board, UPC, whose objective is to provide students with a wide variety of entertaining and educational activities and events. So basically, their goal is to program for the entire student body, which sounds broad and big, and it very much it is that. It's very, very broad, very big, and it gives them a lot of opportunity to do some pretty creative things. With that, some data about UPC. Their attendance, a huge chunk of their programs and events. A lot of students do attend their events. So 34% of the total student population attended at least one of UPC's events, which last year they had 50 plus, which, I mean, if you say a third of the university community attended your events, I think that's pretty good. I think that's a success. With that, almost half of all event attendees were first year students. So thinking about students who are trying to find ways to get involved, find ways to get connected. UPC offers a lot of those opportunities for students to be able to do that in a way that is consistent and structured, in terms with the university system. And as far as expenses, one big conversation that happens a lot is how much finances UPC has, because it is such a big organization with like a large responsibility. They do have a large budget to manage and figure out how they want to connect students to other students and to the university. So with that, last year they spent over $650,000, which averages out to about $12,000 per event. But that's including some of our bigger events, such as our concerts and comedy shows, which average, 300, 500, or even, in the thousands of attendance. So excluding those, it's about $5,000 per event, with which there's a lot of free food, free giveaways, gift cards, things of that nature, things to kind of get students entertained and intrigued and connected. A little insight to how UPC operates. There are 14 total executive or governing council positions. So you have the chair, vice chairs of programming, outreach, membership, and PR, public relations, and they oversee like the vision of UPC, whereas there are also committees, and those committee directors for the following committees: Arts and Enrichment, Cultural Connections, PKG, which is Concerts and Music, otherwise known as Performances and Karaoke on Grounds. Smiles and Giggles. We got some smiles on the Zoom. Thank you, Dave, and thank you, Tanisha. We love to see the giggles. Late night and specials, in addition to marketing, which essentially is not a programming committee, but still very much a committee that represents the University Programs Council. And with that, there are about 10 to 20 general members within each committee that assists with planning and implementation of those specific events for those committees. So this week and next week for Wahoo Welcome, we got Newcomb Hall Crawl, which is happening between late night and specials. That'll be this Friday. Saturday, you have a concert. Next Wednesday, you'll have Rotunda Sing, and different committees have been working on this stuff all summer long to make these things a success, to give students an opportunity to connect early with some legacy events, some UVA staples such as Rotunda Sing, in addition to giving us new concert artists every semester. And it's always a very interesting process to go through, but we hope that people show up and show out. And next up, we got Student Council.
All right, so I'm going to do this real quick because unfortunately I do have to run. So student council is basically the purpose of student council is to protect and improve the rights, opportunities, and quality of life of every student at the University of Virginia. Basically, it boils down to that they're the governing body of students at UVA. So they propose basically policy and practice for the administration of UVA, especially important piece for UVA student experiences, and that includes probably most importantly is CIOs. But they break down into some big categories as well. So they have support and access services, and that's going to be things like textbook access. They do this Airbus, which is bus service to get you to the airport, airports really, Richmond and Dulles. They also help with some health insurance and assistance. So they do a lot of like making college more affordable type programs. Cabinet, that's going to be working with the student body president and implementing their direct initiatives. Broad goals, a lot of their stuff's like academic affairs, diversity, sustainability, and working specifically within kind of their platform for the year. Administration branch, that's going to be kind of their oversight of internal operations, budgeting, community relations of student council. And then organizations, which is huge. That's the CIO branch of student council. So student council has a lot of primary functions, but probably one of the most impactful is they have a huge amount of oversight over CIOs. And so we work really, really closely with them for all sorts of things. So they're actually the ones that are running and organizing the CIO organization activity fair, which is happening on Monday. So if you take nothing else away from our presentation today, please make sure to remember Monday, circle that big on the calendar. That is the CIO activities fair. That's going to be happening in South Lawn, Amphitheater, and Peabody Lawn. That is where all the CIOs will be out there, and that is being organized by student council. They're also the ones, student council is the ones that give all the CIOs money. So student organizations do tons and tons of programs, events. They offer lots of different, meetings and socials and all sorts of things. And they're the ones that are giving those CIOs money for the most part. So they have about $1.3 million that they're giving those CIOs every year. And that is all through that organization's part of student council. And then they have the representative body. So in addition to the president, the VP for organizations, and the VP for administration, which is kind of what I just talked about, all that stuff I just talked about is managed by those three positions, which are elected. The representative body is also elected, and think of them as kind of like the Senate or the Congress, and they're elected as well. And so those positions are for sure going to be, what you'll see, set out for in the elections. They're the ones that are electing for your halls and whatnot. And that's kind of the quick and dirty of student council. I'm trying to think if there's another slide here. I don't think there is. Perfect. All right. I love to you all. Good luck. Unfortunately, I have to run to my next thing, but I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.
All right, everybody, let's chuck the deuces to Dave. See you. Definitely see you tomorrow. But cool. Thank you for that though. As you say, yeah, activities fair. That will be August 21st, Monday. So feel free to share that information with any and everybody. So that way we have the lowdown on how to get involved and who to get involved with, just make some connections with those folks face to face. But speaking of how to get involved, there are definitely some other opportunities and different ways to do that. And to that, I will look to Tanisha to talk a little bit more about the how to get involved portion of things.
Okay, so I know Tyree said this at the beginning of the presentation, but we're going to answer it again for you all. What even is a CIO? So CIO stands for Contracted Independent Organizations, and it is one of the categories of student organizations on grounds and the most common. So the ones that we just, went over, like Student Co. or Student Council and, UBE and UPC. They're like special status organizations and agencies, but CIOs is generally what everything else falls under. And we have 707 CIOs and counting. So, if you get here and you can't find something that you like, bring something up, make something up, and make it a thing. What are the CIO categories? So we have 7 categories of CIOs here. And if you, again, come up with something that may not fall specifically into one of these categories, they can be classified as, multiple or none. It just, whatever you want it to be. But we have the arts. So this includes like dance organizations. One that I was involved in during undergrad was Flux, which is a poetry and spoken word organization. We have public service, which is anything from Madison House down at, by Mad Bowl. Well, you don't know, but you'll soon learn, down by Mad Bowl, which is like behind the rotunda, just to let y'all know. And just like other organizations that you can just help get involved in and help out the community. We have cultural and ethnic organizations, academic and professional organizations, social and hobby organizations. So like we have a cereal club, legit. Just that's one of the ones that caught my attention when I was going through them and just like being like, oh, that sounds cool. But so cereal club, we have religious and spiritual organizations, and of course club sports. So if you played sports in high school, and you may not be, you didn't make the ACC team, but you still want to continue that hobby, or you really loved it, we have club sports here that you can get involved. Anywhere from Quidditch to club soccer and so on and so forth.
So for this part, this visual essentially is what our website that we use called Who's Involved. This is what it looks like on a desktop. So when we say a website is worth 1,000 CIOs, we mean that almost literally, because there's a lot of organizations, as Tanisha mentioned, 707. I think it actually got up to, it might have gotten up to 711 or 719. So yeah, don't be surprised if by Monday you might have 760, in addition to all the agency organizations and special status organizations. So there are a lot, but this is what our website looks like. And as you can see at the top, you can sort and browse by organizations. So if you have an idea what you might be looking for, you can search by categories, those different categories that we talked about, and even some more refined categories such as music, movies. You can type in certain keywords, and it'll curate a list based on whatever it is you type. So pretty helpful for finding different organizations that may fit your particular interest, and more of a visual about what all of these things looks like. And a lot of times you'll get different CIO highlights. So you see here, we got student hip hop organization, improv club. So different things to kind of give you some recommendations on a daily basis, just rotating on different things that you can get involved with. Tanisha, anything to add about the who's involved or just involvement things?
Nothing too specific. I would just say definitely go and look through this. This is a newer, resource than, we didn't have it when I was an undergrad here, class 2021, just to age myself. But it is a really cool way to reach out to different CIOs and see how to get involved, see when their next events are, things like that. And so, yeah, check it out.
Absolutely. And it's definitely a good opportunity to connect without like the external pressure, because a lot of times with, things like this, the activities fair is outdoors, it's in person. And for anybody who is an introvert, which I'm not an introvert, I'm like an ambivert. Sometimes I'm cool, but most times I'm cool. Sometimes I'm like, I gotta get away. But in those times where I feel like I might need to just not be around people, this is a perfect opportunity to still find what it is that you may be looking for. Even if you don't know what you're looking for, just like, I know I like music. So you search for music and then you get all these groups, and you can do that a little bit more at your own pace. But if you are more extrovert, once again, Peabody Lawn, South Lawn, Amphitheater, August 21st, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., the activities fair. So between who's involved in the in-person component of the activities fair, there's plenty of opportunities to find ways to get connected, find ways to get engaged and join some student organizations, some different clubs, etc. So once again, some more emphasis on like the who's involved stuff, different things that you can search for. The events tab gives you the whole list of all the events that are happening between now and however far out you want to look. Different tags, so there may be free food tags, free swag, service hours, things of that nature. You can also contact CIOs directly through here. So if you still want to find a way to connect, you can contact CIO organization officers and reach out with any specific questions that you may have. You can also go through the event planning process. So anytime you need to reserve a room, there's an opportunity for you to click certain links, click the resources tab at the top on the Who's Involved page, and it'll take you to our event planning website. And also experiences can take you on a different type of experiential journey. One of the major ones is Public Service Pathways, which was spearheaded almost like out of our office in addition to the Career Services Career Center. So that's a huge program that our colleagues have worked really, really hard on. So those kind of experiences just take you on a specific journey to help guide you along a certain pathway, no pun intended. And yeah, and that's all about the who's involved portion of things. Then we can go into some more of our student engagement programs. So these are a list of programs and things that we've done in the past, last year, et cetera. So you got some Taco Tuesdays, which is my personal fave, because it's tacos. Who doesn't like tacos? Also, Newcomb 90s at noon, just a nice, fun, active day of just random things like mini golf, certain like 90s ice cream stand kind of things. We got some arcade games, 90s music, which I'm also a huge fan of. And yeah, so just a bunch of different events, different things, different opportunities to, once again, to get engaged and build that community. And the reason why we emphasize all these things so much is because it is important and helpful for enhancing that whole student experience. So whether you're a parent who is trying to get your student to connect, or you're a student who's trying to find ways to connect, or even wondering if it's important, if it's meaningful, like, yes, it is. It is very meaningful, it's very impactful, important for the student's overall success. So finding a group or two that can be, that you can rely on, that you can use as a opportunity to develop skills and relationships and network, it serves as a foundation for your overall success. So these things just facilitate some of those opportunities. And another one of our programs that we do out of our office is Adultish. So while we love the college life, the college experience, it does not last forever. So the Adultish programming series is a series of workshops to help students learn healthy ways to transition out of the undergraduate and graduate school experience. So talk a lot about finances, negotiating salaries, managing healthy relationships and boundaries, et cetera. This is definitely one of our favorites because we recognize the benefits of these kind of programs, these kind of events towards, helping continue that transition and continue on that journey of life.
Yeah, and
Now-
I'll say with the Adultish program, the earlier you get started learning about these things, the better for you at the end of the day. So, your incoming first years, negotiating salaries, building healthy relationships and boundaries, meal preparation, all of that is very, very, it pertains to you, right now with what you have going on and for sure after you graduate. And so definitely get involved, definitely come out when y'all see these things pop up on the schedule, because it'll be, you might not think that you can use it, but it'll be so beneficial in the long run. Promise.
Ain't no doubt about it. No doubt about it. And it's always, even as a person who's like coordinating these different events, I still find myself benefiting from the refresher of like, hey, if you might be looking for another job, you might need a refresher on how to negotiate salary. If you get pay increases, you might need a refresher on, everything related to finance and budgeting. So it's always helpful to stay in tune with those. So yes, be on the lookout for those events. We do some in the fall, but mostly in the spring as well. So for this portion right here, you won't see it because this is like a mock-up of what our office will look like. And right now it's in the process of being filled out. So when you make it over to Newcomb Hall, our office is 164. We got a nice renovation that has occurred. Still in the process, a few chairs missing that we need to get in order to really fill it out. But ultimately, we share this with y'all to kind of just give you a vision of what it looks like. And it's a great programming space, massive space, lots of opportunity for different types of events, very social space. Also, part-time study lounge, but that's not the priority for its use. We want to use it as a space to connect, a space to build relationships, a space to engage with one another. And it looks beautiful, by the way. Beautiful. So please stop by Newcomb Hall 164. And with that, I think that is all that we have. So feel free to follow us on social media, emphasis on Instagram using UVA student engagement for all of our event updates, for all of our events and updates. So if you have any questions, feel free to pop those in the chat or the Q&A and we'll be happy to answer. Otherwise, thank you.